It's not often that I can come to you, the David Pakman Show audience, and say, hey, Donald Trump accomplished something. Donald Trump set some kind of record. Donald Trump has done something historic that we can talk about. But I can do that today. Donald Trump has finally accomplished something historic in his presidential campaign. He has managed to rack up 0 major newspaper endorsements. This is a first for any major party nominee in American history. Now, I'm not overstating the importance of newspaper endorsements. Newspaper endorsements, they probably don't really change too many voters' minds, but it still does tell us something when not a single major newspaper has endorsed Donald Trump. Jack Pitney is a professor of government at California's Claremont McKenna College. He said to the Wrap, quote, "It's significant. The cumulative effect of all these defections could have an impact on moderate Republicans." Now, let's give you some context. In 2012, 16 of what are considered the major newspaper endorsements went to Mitt Romney, the Republican nominee. 16 major newspapers didn't endorse anybody, and 28 major newspapers endorsed then sitting President Barack Obama. And we've covered the decisions made by individually, traditionally conservative newspapers as well. And there are conservative papers that have endorsed Republicans for decades, 40 years in many cases. I think some of them even something like 60 years. And they have broken with tradition and instead have endorsed Hillary Clinton, or at the very least have said, we're not endorsing Hillary, but don't vote for Trump. So, for example, you've got the Dallas Morning News, which endorsed every single Republican nominee since 1940. We're talking about 76 years here. They were so appalled by the idea of President Donald Trump that they introduced a Clinton endorsement with the caveat, we don't come to this decision easily. This newspaper has not recommended a Democrat for the nation's highest office since before World War II. If you're counting, that's more than 75 years and nearly 20 elections. You've got the Cincinnati Enquirer editorial board, which broke from a nearly 100-year-long tradition of backing Republicans to support Hillary Clinton, telling its readers, quote, this is not a traditional race, and these are not traditional times. And then you have the Arizona Republic, which also endorsed Hillary Clinton. The last time that the Arizona Republic, this is so insane, it sounds almost unbelievable. 1890 was the last time, Pat, that the Arizona Republic endorsed someone other than a Republican.
And you've made your point. To add one more to that list, USA Today, which usually stays out of this kind of thing, they haven't endorsed a president in 34 years. They didn't choose to endorse Hillary, but they basically said, don't vote for Trump. Yeah,
USA Today, not traditionally a paper, a publication that endorses at all. So this is really not good for Trump. Now, here's the thing. Let's view this, okay? If you are a non-Trump supporter, you would see this and you would say, that will definitely convince everyone not to vote for Donald Trump, right? But if you are a Trump supporter, you would see this and you would say, no newspapers are endorsing Donald Trump. All the more reason to vote for him. It means that the liberal media is scared. That's the rationale that a lot of Trump supporters will put into play. And even with the sexual assault allegations, which are just flowing freely like a waterfall of Niagara Falls, they say, these are trumped up charges. Bill Clinton's much worse. This is all just meant to hurt Trump. And my support of him has been renewed now.
And there are many conservative papers, too. Rupert Murdoch runs quite a few, including the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
And even they aren't endorsing Trump.
Yeah, it's historic in terms of what it represents. I don't care. I've said many times, I don't know that endorsements do much at all. I think taken in total, if you said all of the endorsements in total for a candidate, they probably do something. Do they move the needle? You know, at this point in our electoral vote system, we're talking about a few voters in a few states that are ultimately going to decide whether Trump ekes out a win, whether Hillary wins by a modest margin, or whether Hillary Clinton wins by a historic margin. And I don't know to what extent these endorsements matter. Trump also, I will note, has no endorsements or votes from any living president, right? People who have done the job before that are alive, none of them have endorsed Donald Trump, nor do they plan to vote for Donald Trump, as near as we can tell. And we had news about George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush initially. They were staying out. and then reports that at least George H.W. Bush is going to be voting for Hillary Clinton. I'm not totally sure whether that's been proven or not. Kind of doesn't matter, Pat, because the big picture message is there are former Republican presidents who don't want to be anywhere near Trump or any of this campaign, missing from the convention, missing from endorsements. They don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, the question now is who is supporting him among, people in Congress, like elected officials. There's very few.
And what's funny is I don't even know if I did tell you this. Yeah, after the Trump audio leaked over last weekend, a bunch of Republicans unendorsed Trump. And some of them have stuck with it, right? John McCain said, I'm not voting for Trump. That's it, period. John Huntsman and Mitt Romney, so many people, a lot of people backing away from Trump altogether. There are a few whose names I won't even mention because they're clearly such political opportunists that they don't even deserve me mentioning them on the show. They had originally endorsed Trump. The Pussygate audio leaked and they said, oh, I'm no longer endorsing Trump and or not voting for him. But then they came back to Trump after the second debate. What's more weaselly than that, Pat? I mean, is your view on Trump changing so drastically that every few days you have to make a public pronouncement? These are just people calculating, am I better off being on the list of Trump friends or foes as of how the wind is blowing this morning? It's pathetic.
Yeah, you've got to make your position and stick to it.
Yeah.
Through high times and low times, you're going to get a lot more respect from the public out of that.
I would respect going down with the ship than unendorsing and then endorsing and explaining why you initially endorsed and explaining why you unendorsed and now why you've re-endorsed. Just commit to going down with the ship if it goes down or sailing to victory if that's what ultimately happens. I've talked about how people of all ages, but particularly millennials, are owning cars less and participating more in the sharing economy. And one of the more popular options is Zipcar, which gets you a car when you want it, when you need it. They offer all sorts of cars, SUVs, hybrids, whatever you need. It includes insurance and it includes gas. You just pay for the time that you actually use the car. And you can reserve the car online from your smartphone over the phone. Then you unlock it with your Zip card. Each car share member reduces their personal CO2 emissions by between 1,100 and 1,600 pounds per year. For our audience, Zipcar is offering $25 of free driving credit if you sign up at joinzipcar.com/David. Support our show, reduce your carbon emissions and your spending on cars. Sign up at joinzipcar.com/David.